Hey everybody, Meinke here from mlive.com, joined by Nate Atkins. Moving on to the secondary in our Detroit Lions position reviews from 2016. An eye-popping stat from the secondary, 72.9% completion percentage allowed by those guys this year. A record in the NFL. It was like 6% almost more than anybody else in the league. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's insane what these guys did. How much of that do you think, Nate, is the result of the front seven and the lack of a pass rush? And how much do you put on the secondary? How much of a concern do you have with the secondary?
Secondary wasn't perfect, obviously, with a stat like that, but I think you'd overreact to look too much at a stat like that. I think that's the secondary's issue. We talked about the pass rush. That was a major issue. You saw especially some plays like against Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson when they extend the plays for so long. That really wears down a defensive back group. Also, the way that they play with the two high safeties off coverage, they want you to take short passes. They're almost giving you these hitches and these slants and different plays like that. So I wouldn't overreact to that. When you watch them on film, they played pretty well for the most part. I think their struggles were in the nickel spot once Quandre Diggs went down, but I don't think it was a huge concern.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was a lack of a pass rush, but it was more than that. I mean, we've seen the struggles from the linebackers. That those guys, especially early in the year, really struggled to cover in space, and so you saw a schematic shift, I think, from the Lions. I mean, Terrell Austin's always preached not to give up the big play, but it was almost a hyper version of that. You know, they really focused on not allowing the big play, and they were pretty good at that. Mm-hmm. But the trade-off was there was just huge swaths of territory that was uncovered underneath, and opposing quarterbacks, even guys like Case Keenum and Brian Hoyer, and these guys just tore the Lions apart by doing that. Lions won games like that. I mean, you have to give them their props for winning. You know, those 8 straight games there during one stretch where they allowed less than 21 points. But once they started facing better teams and better quarterbacks, guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott down the stretch, they were able to really take advantage of that approach. And I feel like it wasn't. Darius Slay had a great season. You know, Glover Quinn was solid. I mean, better than solid. Again, I still think he's one of the most underrated players on the Lions. And I thought the Lions' safeties actually were very deep. Mm-hmm. Nevin Lawson improved as the season went on. I mean, I thought there was a lot of talent back there. To me, the secondary was not the issue, and I think you're fine. I mean, you can always use another corner in the draft or whatever, but I don't think it's a pressing need at this point. The pressing need is the deficiencies up front, and at linebacker, my concern level with the secondary is not that high.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up a great point with the linebackers because that was a point when offenses could just rely on going to the running back, and that's going to go into that completion percentage. But those were such high percentage passes, shorter ones, 2 running backs in space. And so you look at the defensive backfield, I think, they could use a cornerback. They could use a guy where they can plug him in at nickel, maybe use Diggs a little more as a backup. I thought Batty Mosey was a good backup. But I don't see a spot in that entire defensive backfield that you're looking at and you're like, you got to replace that. I think that's more in the front 7.
Agreed. For Nate, I'm Kyle. We're MLive. Keep it right here.